And for our third podcast meeting, we have artist Mauren Brodbeck, and she's a multidisciplinary artist from Switzerland, and also a sing-songwriter. Maybe what you sing today? No?
Oh, you know, um, I realized lately that I like for my music to be in a visual context. So it's very hard for me to not perform with my voice when I am in my specific context I want to give with the visual aspect of it. I'm not that kind of you know guitar
Okay,
voice kind
sure.
of person.
Sure. After you. And she also uses visual and auditory elements to create storyline retro interpretations of common objects and experiences. Your multi-dimensional works invite your audience to step outside their safe and familiar realities and reconsider their relationships with their people and environments around them. And I also have few words from the curator of Photo Cave, Carol Pidu. So I would read it for you out loud. I would like first to say that I'm really honored and grateful to Mauren, who accepted to participate in the Woman's Eye exhibition that I am curating in the framework of Photo Cave 2020. Mauren is a great multi-faced artist, passionate and committed. She has a deep comprehension and vision of our physical environment that she chiefs to capture in her multi-layered and colorful artworks. And it's precisely that the power of her photos she aims to make visible the invisible.
Well, thanks so much. This is so nice. I'm
So
totally flattered.
I'm glad you're with us. And I think let's start from the first question. Yeah, it's just a general question. And as far as I have understood, that you have two kids, yeah?
I have two kids. Yeah, yeah.
And do you divide your personal life from your artistic process and or not? Or you involve your kids and your family to do something with you together?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you because I think what you do is amazing, and I'm really, really happy and totally honored to be part of it. So, yes, I do have two kids. They are teenagers now. I From the day one, I had my first child. Um, she's a girl. She's now 15. I basically just delivered and I was already traveling for exhibitions and with her as a newborn. So I had to tag along with my husband had to tag along with me and the kid because I needed that help. So I'm very lucky. I have a family that is supporting me and that is helping me a lot with this
That's
because
very important.
yeah, I don't think I would have been able to do everything what I'm doing. And when I think of it, I think it took me a long time to develop my career also because of this, because I decided to have kids because it was a choice. We decided we wanted to have children together. And our daughter came unexpectedly really quickly in our relationship. And our relationship with my husband, everything went really fast. We met we got engaged, we got married, and then not long after we had a child. So it was a real personal choice that I wanted to live this experience. I think we have a lot of discussion about being a mother these days because I think a lot of women feel in our society that it's the way to go and this is what they should do, and maybe they don't especially want to have a child and they feel the pressure. And for me, it was not like that because I'm a believer in synchronicities in life, and that we are faced with choices or propositions, maybe more is the better word. We are faced with proposition, like we meet a person
Mhm.
and the person proposes something. So in this case, I met this man who said, I want to marry you. And we just had met. We just knew each other for 4 days.
Wow.
And I, I was I
That's
was faced
pretty
with the
fast.
proposition. I could have said yes and I could have said no. So I decided to go on this adventure. And it could have been any kind of other person with any kind of other proposition, but this is what happened in my life. This is the encounters I made in my life. So I decided to embark on this journey, and then I realized that much for my life, this is how I function. Life proposes me things, and then I say yes or no. And so then, we decided to have a child. In the same time, I started a postgraduate degree in the art school here in Geneva in new media and interactive media. And in the same time, I said, okay, I'm more or less out of a student of the Arts and College of Design. So I don't make money. I need to find a way to make money. I know photography, I know filmmaking, and I need to create work for myself. So I started some kind of a visual audio interactive design studio. And then, so I started, and I became a mother. So I started, and I was an artist. So I started all these things together. And
Wow.
I'm not sure it was very wise,
That's
but this is what happened. So my children from day one, they have been involved. I mean, I don't like to be away from my family. So I never really applied for residencies because that would mean I had to go away from my family. So I didn't want to go that route, which was not especially a good move for my career, but that's what I was happy with. And I think the biggest struggle for me was to feel inside in my heart what I was okay with time, how much time I'm going to dedicate to my art and how much time I'm going to dedicate to my children, because I need to create. If I don't create, I'm miserable. And I need this time and I need enough time that I can feel I am moving forward and I'm getting the stuff that I have inside me out. So, but then in the same time, when you're an artist and you start to create and you spend long and long and long hours in the studio, and then you're like, oh, you know, how much time now I'm going to spend with my child. And it, I think it's for everybody is different. So you don't have a reference. Um, and you don't have many people to talk about that because not many people are artists and women uh, around you, or artists and women with child of similar age. So the struggle is different with different ages. And yeah, so it's really a matter, a personal, very, very personal matter to decide, where am I okay with this? Where am I okay, and where do I feel good with everything I want to do? And I don't involve much of my kids in my work. I would like to involve them more, but they were never willing to be more involved. But they did the travels. Um, they discovered places and words. When they were little, we went to LA with a group of Swiss artists that are here, that are friends, and they were very little, and it was very difficult because they were walking around. We were in the gallery all day preparing the show, and they were there, and you have to keep them busy, and
Yeah.
it's tough sometimes, but it's a beautiful adventure to share, and this is the family I want to have. I don't want to be a mother and I store my kids somewhere. I want them to be part of our lives so they can be inspired to create their own life the way they want. But sometimes they help me out. Sometimes they do photos with me. Sometimes they're there. So my studio is available for them if they need to. Yeah.
So that they don't want to connect their life in the future with their art.
Sorry?
They don't want to connect their future life with their art or artistic career. Right.
Well, my daughter is very artistic, and but she's trying different things, and I think she's interested in fashion, but she's not sure yet of what she wants. And my son, he's into ice hockey, so that's what's up for him.
Great that it's a very wide range of interests.
Yeah, but it's funny because as a parent, you learn things that you think are interesting, and then you want to teach them to your kids, and your kids are not especially into it. But then I took my kid for a day because we had to do a child with the parent for one day at work to see, what the parent do and give an idea on the profession, and then they exchange at school. So I prepared a photo shoot for my son so I could teach him about photography. And basically, he came to my studio and he said, "No, mom, let me teach you how this goes." So then he taught me photography his own way, how he saw it. I couldn't teach him anything.
But that's also a great way of learning.
Yeah, so they always throw you off. It's the toughest job. It's to be a parent, and you learn so much from your kids. It's really enriching and fulfilling and challenging and difficult and amazing and everything. So it's full. Yeah.
And if we'll talk about the work which is presented at Photo Kiev,
Yeah.
uh, and it's called A Moving Image of Eternity.
Yeah.
Uh, can you talk about the title first of all, and can you talk a bit about the starting point of this work?
Yes. So the title, A Moving Image of Eternity, this is a part of a phrase that Plato used to describe in the text I read, where it, he was explaining that our physical world is is just a mere image of a deep truth, a profound eternal reality. And this spoke to me so strongly because I really believe in that. And I was thinking, how can I try to capture this in photography? And a couple of years back, I decided to work with the idea of tales, like fairy tales. And I researched this idea of tales, and I realized that tales are not especially fairy tales. There's really a wide variety of tales in narration, in storytelling. So because I work sometimes on very short series, uh, and my work is very experimental, I decided to work with this idea of tales and to create a tale on nature because my connection with nature is very strong, and I'm very um, aware and concerned about our environment. I have always been. And for me, we are missing, as a society in general, uh, contemporary society, we are losing our link to nature and we are losing our connection to it. And I think, you know, to go a bit further in this idea, because we were able to create technology and to create machines and to create all these things that are amazing, we became a bit, um, I'm not sure what's the word in English, but we 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 started to think that we are better and above
Mm-hmm.
other living beings. I mean, already as a society, we place some people above the other people, which is really not right. And we build the society like that. And finally, we start to talk about this. Finally, it starts to be in the discussion, but for a long time, it was not in the discussion. And we lost that connection with nature.
Mm-hmm.
We lost that connection with the animal kingdom. And we think we above. So we come and we conquer and we colonize without thinking about the consequences of what we do and without doing it in a kind, natural, holy or whole way. And I was thinking for many years, I was thinking, how can I, as an artist, or how do I, as an artist, want to engage in all this discussion? Uh, how can I try with what I do to put a little drop in this ocean of what the world is and what society is, to engage with people? And I realized that what matters the most to me and what feels the most right to me, because I did a lot of activism as a teenager and a young adult, I was thinking I don't want to go in this route anymore. What I want is open cracks or open breach in the reality of what we live to inspire people to be more in touch with themselves or to be more authentic with themselves. And so this is what I'm trying to do. And with this series, A Moving Image of Eternity, I'm trying to make people understand that our world is so much more complex and beautiful than what we see. I mean, we can see ugly, but in a general way, our world is pretty beautiful. It depends how you look at it, but nature is amazing. But we live on all those layers because there's not only the physical layer, there's all the other invisible layers that are there. And I also believe that places have memories and the energies you can feel. So, especially now that things are going so much faster, I feel sometimes that we are feeling way too much than we're supposed to feel as human beings. And we get very anxious and concerned, and we're not sure why. And I think this is happening on a global level. You see, do you understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, absolutely.
Um, and sometimes we don't know why. I think there's a lot of anxiety in the society, and yes, there's the news, and the news is very negative, and they entertain this kind of illusion of, I don't know if it's a manipulation or an illusion of how the society is supposed to work. And I don't know, for me, it's just very noisy. But I think people are trying to understand what's happening, and people, we are all interconnected like the internet is, and people feel that, and that's why they go more towards meditation and self-help and all that stuff, because they know they can feel something's happening and they don't know how to deal with it. And so in one way, you could say my work is a little spiritual in a way. I mean, this work especially, because it really talks about it's floral, it's a plant-based, if you wish, still life plant-based, but it wants to bring this idea of all those different layers together. And it brings this idea also of the inner garden we have inside of us. You know, um, you can see your body as a whole word, a bit in itself, as your whole universe, and that you have to take care of it for it to flourish and for it to grow like a plant. And everything that we have inside of us is so creative and so big, and it's bigger than life what we have inside of us. And sometimes people, they don't see this anymore because society told them not to see it. I mean, you can see it in children. You know, children are so amazing and creative and free, and then we are taught not to be this way.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
people lose touch. Some people lose touch with their inner garden, if you wish, or they. So I'm trying to talk about this, to ignite this fire inside, to this drive for people to look inside because all the answers are there. And on the same time with this series, you know, I'm always investigating photography and how I can push the boundaries of photography. And I'm trying to stay on a very experimental level because I like that status of not controlling. You know, I could be controlling my image completely, exactly how I want it to light and exactly, which I do, but I'm trying to let go and see what happens. So I create those long exposures and then I perform a collage and I move it. So the result is the environment is kind of controlled, but the result is not controlled at all. So I always take a lot I do a lot of photographs.
And you've told what you like in photography and what you dislike in photography.
I don't know if there's anything I dislike in photography. Um,
Or maybe this control thing.
maybe what?
Maybe this control thing.
Well, yeah, that's more about that's more about the process of creating art. I think I like to let go of control and see what happened and start, you know, it's like throwing something and then you see what happened. It's like having a child. You have a child, it's totally out of control. You know, you want to control something, but it's another human being. You know, it's not a toy. So it you don't know what you get when you have a child. It's not, you know, it's not in a catalog where you choose something. It's you know, when I buy my camera, I know what I'm getting. When I have a child, I have no clue what I'm getting. It's a surprise package, so you have to deal with it after. And sometimes it's more difficult than others, right? But no, I think photography is a fantastic medium. It's so inspiring for me, and I think I was really always attracted to photography and cinematography and film and video because it captures a part of reality, and then you can manipulate it in any way you can, and you get good at it with time. You know what you want. You can do exactly what you want. But I like to invite this part of the unexpected in my work. So I create situations where it can happen, I think.
Mhm.
Because you know, I experimented with colors for so long in labs, in color lab. Um, First I had my own, and then I went to the Art Center College of Design, which had amazing color lab for positive and negative film. And because it's kind of a rigorous process, there's not that many people into it. But so I pretty much had this lab. I could do anything I wanted in it and mess up with all the chemicals and all that, and see how um, colors start to blend in each other and the color start to shift and blend and appear on the film a different way. And then there's the whole printing, which is yet another step. So it's kind of cool because when you're in a lab where you process film and develop film, you lose completely track of time because first of all you're in complete darkness.
Yeah.
And I got used to do that. Even now when I do stuff, sometimes I close my eyes, so I'm in the darkness and I just use my hand. But
But
you
it's
you lose,
also,
yeah,
you lose complete the senses, like the vision
yeah,
sense. You're completely out, and then the darkness activates the different vision, I would say, the different feelings. It's also a kind of magical uh,
yeah,
feeling that you have in
yeah.
the
And you
art.
have to start, you have to be good with what you do with your hands. You have to really understand and visualize. I mean, we all have different ways that we process information, but you have to really visualize and organize this. Um, and then what happened? You develop your film, and then it's a surprise because maybe you totally messed up, maybe something happened, you don't know. So I started to um, write everything I was doing. So I could really say, when you start to mess up with the chemicals and mess up with the order of the chemicals and all this, you have much different results and with different films and all that. So I experimented with all the films and I experimented with everything. And then when I got pregnant, I decided that chemical was not a good idea. And then it was the beginning of, digital photography. Then there was the first digital back ever. And then I started to use more and more digital photography. And then when I moved back to Switzerland, I stumbled on a very small world where nothing existed anymore. And I ended up not being able to buy the films I wanted, not being able to buy the chemicals I wanted. And then I was saying, but then, whatever, I'm using digital now. So I transform my color research and experiment into the digital world.
Yeah. And now you're also using only digital now.
Yeah, well, I use mostly digital, and I still have my large format camera. And I worked a lot with the Hasselblad, so I still have films. I still have Polaroid, 4x5 Polaroids. I have a stack, I still have 4x5 films. I still have medium format films and Polaroids and all that. So keeping them for special projects. I also have a pinhole camera, 4x5. I'm keeping for special projects because I worked a lot with Polaroids also in my experiments.
Cool.
And yeah, so I experimented a lot with every kind of a film you can have, infrared, color, positive, negative, any kind of film. And Polaroid also had this self-developing tool to do slides.
Yeah.
So I have that. I have a lot of I have a lot of gear. So photography is expensive actually. If you don't want to spend money, do drawing, don't do photography. It's really bad. But in the US, you can still find a lot of things, but here in Switzerland, it's much, much more complicated,
Yeah.
and the access is very limited. So I have a digital bag, and I've been working with this and experimenting with this, but I think it's also important because in the history of photography, photographers have always been very interested in new techniques and following new techniques. And we are gear freaks, I think. We love gears. I mean, I don't know one photographer that doesn't like gears and knowing what's up with new cameras and lights and trying this and trying that. And I think it's just part of it. We just love it. You
And
know,
talking about the new techniques and new mediums, as far as I have understood, you're making also two podcasts.
yes.
And can you talk a bit how did you come up with this idea to make a podcast?
Well, two things. Um, the first thing, I have to figure out how did that started actually. I think the first thing was that after school, when I started to work, I realized through the years that I have a lot of amazing girlfriends that are amazing artists and photographers and started to have a family and stop their art. And that really bummed me out because I think they are great and um, I think their work deserves to be known. And I was thinking, what is it? What do we need as a woman? Because we have all this multiplicity of roles. We are mothers after all. Fathers are fathers, but they cannot be mothers, and we are mothers, and we have a different relationship to our child because it probably comes from inside of us. So we have this kind of link that's special. And how did I do it? What I was trying to think about the help. What kind of help would I have liked to have? And I was always thinking that what I would have loved to have, because I read a lot of biographies, but the biographies are always written after the fact. And I was thinking I would love to have a biography that's written during the life of the person. So you know exactly what they're going through and what they think at the moment. Because there's a lot of ups and downs in life. And in a biography, you're like, oh yeah, I had a difficult time and this happened. And, it's kind of a past thing. You're not in the moment. And when you live difficult things in the moment, this is where you want to get inspiration to say, how did that person do it? How did this person do it? What did they went through? What did they go through? So um, that's where I started this idea, and I say I have to talk to other women that are in the arts because I feel that we are quite isolated because we are so busy. You can be isolated from your own friends in the same city because everybody's working hard to make their work, to make a living, to raise a family, to do all this. So, how can we feel closer to each other? How can we help each other? We all have a story to tell. So that's why this idea of podcast came. And for me, the most important thing, so my podcast is called Raw and Radical Women in the Arts. And it's conversation with another woman in the arts, once an artist and once a professional in the art, because I think it's important to have that perspective also. And it's about not so much how they create or how they make their career. It's really a personal conversation about what inspires them and how do they live this life, what are their challenges, what did they go through. It's really sharing their story, and the goal for this is really to inspire and give perspective, because someone that lives where you are, someone that lives where I am, someone that lives in South America or in Asia, the cultures are different, so they don't have the same challenges. And I think it's important to have that perspective, you know, because it opens the mind. And that's what's the most important. Like, wow, this is how they do it over there. I would have never thought of that, because sometimes you just don't see it. Even if it's there, you just don't see it. You need someone to show you. And this is how you can really grow and expand your ideas and your vision for your life and all that. So it's really about opening the dialogue and creating this community. So this is for Raw and Radical Women in the Arts. It's really engaging in this global dialogue. Um, because a part of me is really feminist, and I never um, locked myself into a specific kind of feminism, and I don't really talk about it for my work because I don't want to be attached to any label. So I think my work is feminist for many different reasons because it touches on those subjects. But I didn't want my art to be controlled to say, I want to say this specific thing and all that. No, I want my art to be free of all this. But the subject and the theme is very important to me. So I created the podcast where I can control the discussion
Mhm.
much more. And it doesn't involve my art. I don't want any kind of control over my art because if my art want to go somewhere, I want to let it go somewhere where it wants to go. I think that ideas are not, they don't belong to anybody. I think they're in the air. So
And
um,
if we start to talk about the feminism, I have a question to you.
yes,
Do you think that a lot of artists now they're working with their socially engaged topics such as
yeah,
feminism, racism, migration, a lot of other issues,
yeah.
and they're working only because it is a trend and not because they really care about the topic?
Well, I would hope that they don't work, that they don't work. I don't think so. I don't think an artist works something because it's trendy. I mean, maybe, yeah, maybe there are some. I mean, there's always, who knows, right? But I think an artist would really, it's a all those are really important subjects. It it's really um what's happening right now in the world, and I think every artist wants to engage in this because it is so important. Because immigration is such a huge subject right now, and race. I mean, when you go out of your own bubble of life with your friends and the people you you realize that you live in, I don't know, we're still in the Middle Ages, how people think. It's really scary. It's like, no, I wanted to be born now, not in the Middle Age, but yes, we are in the middle. Yeah, but no, this I didn't want to be born in the Middle Age. No, thank you. I want to be born now, but sometimes I feel like I'm in the Middle Age. We think we're very evolved, but we're not evolved at all. The way we treat each other, the way we treat the world, this is very poor and sad. So I think artists are sensitive and they are touched by this and they want to do something about it. And I think the beauty is that because we all have our stories and our narrative and our vision and our life stories and all that, we can each engage on the same subject in tons of different ways. And no, I would think the big majority of artists don't engage in this because it's trendy. I hope. I think they really engage in this because it really touches them deeply. So, yeah.
Hope so too.
Yeah. Who knows though, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, so you see with my other podcast that's called Private View, it's very more personal. It's a much shorter podcast. It's just me because I thought, asking people to do podcast and do that, it's quite a job. It takes a long time and all that. But with Private View, I can just talk about what I want. So I pick a subject that I think is important, and I just share what I learned about it, how I use it, what I know about it, and what I've been doing with it. It's kind of an ongoing diary of work in progress. And now I'm going to start with the new section or season of it, and I'm going to engage much more in what I'm doing in my own studio, so I can share more what's happening here in my studio when I create or when I travel or things like that. But it's yeah, I pick a subject. I did one on alienation,
Uh,
and
I, I I listened to it.
oh yeah, and I did one on facing the void, and because it is an artistic, it's part of the work of an artist is to face that void and face that blank page or face that. And with the years I've developed ways to ease this and tricks and all that. So I'm trying to share this on that podcast. So hopefully that is helping some people or inspiring them. I don't know, but yeah, sometimes I get a little note, a little email with a full feedback. So that's great.
And do you know your audience for the podcast?
Yeah, there's about 85% women, about uh, I think 7 or 8% men, 7 or 8% of non-binary, and the rest is people that prefer not to say. I have a majority of the audience in the United States, and then I think it's the UK, Canada. I think Switzerland comes in fifth or sixth position.
But
But
why
the
United States?
sorry.
Or why majority is from United States?
Oh, I think it's just because it's such a big country with so many
Oh,
people.
okay.
I think it's just, yeah, it's
Just
just
because
that.
of this. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Switzerland is so small. So if you have 10% already listening to your podcast, that's huge. But the numbers are small. And then there's about 18 different countries, I think. And so I'm super happy about that because um, I didn't get much chance to promote it because I don't have much time to dedicate for the podcast. I'm trying to dedicate as much time as I can, but um, then it's just about creating the podcast itself. So for the promotion, it's been a bit difficult. So I'm super happy to see that there are people in India that listen to it,
Wow.
and in Australia, and in Korea and Japan, and Saudi Arabia and Turkey, and I'm like, yay, this is cool.
But that's great. Yes. With the new technology, when you even with the COVID, you can reach different
Yeah.
people from different countries. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I was thinking we are born now, so there's a reason why we are here and now, and this we can share our stories, and we can help even if you can have one person or inspire one person somewhere. That's cool because that person will inspire more person, and this is how we raise that global awareness and that global dialogue. And that's why things go much faster now.
That's true.
Yeah.
And what do you think if it is necessary to make a living with their art, doing art, or you can also work as a part-time something else, or
Yeah, that's an important question because
it is.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that one for a long time because do you want to give your art the pressure of making you money? Um, then in the same time, you sell an artwork, you will make much more money than if you spend all your time at a job and then you don't have much more money to work on your art. It's a real struggle. And I think one of the big problem we have as people, not especially artists, is that we are not educated on finance and money. We have zero education. And I think our teachers, when we are a child or when we grow up as teenagers, they are also there. They also have zero education in money. We are not educated about money in our society. There's probably a reason for it, you know. Um, and one of the biggest problems for women is to avoid talking about money, But I think it's very important that we as people in a society learn how this money thing works because we need to understand how we are as a society, we are kind of taught in a way to say, oh, all those multinationals and people with money, they like the bad guys and they should share more and this and that, and we are taught to be that way. But I think there's a reason for that. Because if you just stay against and push them away, you're never going to learn how it works. Because it's only when you know how it works, you can understand it, maybe make a living, and also change the system. Because the financial system that exists is very powerful, very strong, and it's not going to change because there's a couple people protesting. It's just that's like a complete illusion. So if we don't learn how this works, we're never going to be able to change nothing. And I think right now, because what's happening in the past decades or so, because the world is changing, because we have some serious environmental issues and immigration issues, it's starting to shake a bit. But it's still strong when you look at the economy, even now where countries are losing so much money because of COVID. Whoa, the economy is still strong. They are not worried. It's it's amazing. There are people losing their life savings. There are people that created restaurants and they have invested all their life in it and they're losing everything just like that. But the economy is doing good. Real estate is doing good. What? You know that? So we have to educate ourselves. And as artists, it's even more difficult because our product is hard to price because it depends so much on who we know and how the market goes and where the people that we know place us on the market. So I think what's more important, an artist cannot um, function by himself or herself in this world. We need to help each other. We need to have a group of people that are going to help the artist be lifted, right? And we also have to take over our life and our business because being an artist is also a business because we all need to eat and we all need to live somewhere. And especially as photographers, we have the advantage as a photographer that we can work for hire. But we have the skills to do that. But photography is expensive. We need to have gear and we need to be able to do what we love to do. So we have to. It's a business, whether we want it or not, or it's we need to live in this world, and so we need to create different revenue streams. because being an artist, it's so fluctuating. If you work for a really big collection, you're going to make quite a lot of money, and then you have to live off this money for a long time because maybe the next 6 months you don't make any money. So I
Mm.
think what's,
What did you decided for yourself?
well, it really depends on what's happening in my life. But for sure, I realized, quite a long time ago that uh, even if you have a gallery representation and they do a show about every 2 years and then you sell once in a while, you don't make a living with that. It's not enough. So you really have to create different avenues for you. And then what's super important, I think, is uh, feedback and validation, because to be able to open ourselves to new ideas for our own um, living as artists, we need a feedback. We need a feedback from people because this is really how we grow. So we should really constantly look for feedback. Sorry, and validation. I'm not saying with validation that we should look for people that tell us how great we are, but people that recognize that we are searching something for our art. We are trying things. We are reflecting and really thinking about ideas and um, about what's happening, about how we can change something, how we can express it. It's very philosophical. And I think with all this, we can start to make a living. So some people decide to teach because it gives them that security. I am a more of a rebel. I don't like constraint, and I don't like schedules, and I don't like, so I mean, I do love teaching, but I don't like this constraint of the schedule. I want to be free. So I live in a insecure
World.
path, the path of insecurity. But I'm not sure it's a good thing, but this is what's happening.
And I think our last question, and it's more like an advice. So, can you give an advice for emerging artists who are at the beginning of their career? What would you recommend to them?
I would really recommend them to really believe in their art and in their capacity to create and grow, and to look for support around them, whether they are friends, whether they are people in the art world. I mean, they should look for everything around them and get involved in creating relationships. Unfortunately, we live in a world where there's a lot of shitty people, and they're gonna reach out and then they're gonna have a not so kind answers. So those people, you have to scrap them out. They are useless and unnecessary. And be very aware of people that invalidate you by little shitty comments, for example, because there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And sometimes the people are close because all these little things they build up inside of you, and you have to protect yourself from this because artists are sensitive people. So I think this is really important to really find feedback, to go out and knock at people's door and say, hey, this is my vision. What do you think? How can you help me? How can I help you? Things about exchange. It's really a lot about give and take. So by doing so, I mean, of course, there's going to be rejection and no's and stuff like that. And hopefully they made in a kind and decent way, but they won't always be. But I think it's really important to really figure out what really matters to you and to really follow what makes you feel good and to really dig and just go full on in this and not letting go ever, ever, ever. Because I mean, in my experience, at least through my career, there's been so many times where I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing? What the hell am I thinking? And why am I here? And maybe I should get a job because sometimes you just don't know where it goes. And you're really thinking, what the hell am I doing? I'm crazy. Am I just wasting my life? You have those moments. So
Yeah, absolutely.
um, it's in those moments you want to make sure you can call a friend and say, I'm having one of those moments, help me out. Or, because sometimes you don't know what's going to happen in the future. And there's always amazing things happening in the future, no matter what. There's always going to be amazing surprise, and you have to be able to say yes to them. So be ready to jump. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's a really great answer. We're all not even emerging artists. We all have to believe in ourselves and support to each other.
Yeah, and
Um,
I'm going to add one thing is I really think that art was placed in a special place, galleries, museums, it's kind of, yeah, whatever. It's nice to see, but not that important. And I think that art should be at the center of society because art is like philosophy, but placed in visual and auditory and installation context so people can understand it and be inspired by it. I think art is so important in the world. And during COVID, we saw many articles on, I don't know if you saw that, but on what jobs are important. And it's like the number one thing that came was like accounting.
yeah,
And artists were like at the bottom of how important it is. And I was thinking, yes, I love my accountant. And I love that someone is helping me out with accounting. And it's kind of necessary and important for the tax people. But on a large scale of world planetary
exactly.
issues, who gives a crap, about accounting?
Yeah,
Our world is in danger. People are in danger. We don't care about accounting. So, what doesn't matter? But inspiring people, giving them perspectives, giving them ideas, giving them ways to express what they have inside of them, that is important. I
I
mean,
I
now
totally
it's
agree
one,
with you.
yeah, it's one way to see it. Now there's also other important things happening,
Yeah,
like
I
feeding people. And
also seen this ranking, which was a bit disappointing for me.
it's funny. Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought it was so funny, but a bit sad also. I think we each have our fights, and you can only fight the fight that feels important to you. You know, I am I am totally supporting all organizations that try to do good in the world. And, I can send them money, I can send them support, or I can try to do something for them, but I cannot fight every fight.
yeah,
I'm an artist for a reason. I love the Sea Shepherd, and I could not do what they do. I just could not. I would be, it would, I admire what they do, but I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
you know.
Uh,
So I admire a lot of people that do a lot of good in the world, but I cannot be all those people. I can only be me and do my part the way I believe that it matters. And for me, what matters is igniting something in people's hearts. Yeah.
okay. So I think that's the ending of our third series of the podcast, for the Kiev podcast. And thank you very much, Mauren,
Oh, thanks to
for
you.
this conversation that was very interesting and very inspirational.